evening and welcome to your news at 9. I'm Sonali Vanigabaduge.
A very good evening. I'm Joel Artskun. We start off with a look at this evening's headline-making stories.
It is my intention to form a national government with all parties. A statement from the President. A protest demanding a swift investigation into controversial treasury bonds issue. MP Sajjan Divasgunawardena grilled by police over financial irregularities. Minister Arjuna Ranatunga appointed SLFP chief organizer for Attanagalla. Sri Lanka knocked out of the Cricket World Cup following defeat to South Africa in the quarter-finals.
President Maithripala Sirisena says that the general election will be held following amendments to the Constitution. President Sirisena made this statement while addressing heads of media at the President's house this morning.
President Maithripala Sirisena had said the general election will be held after the bill on the constitutional reforms is passed in Parliament with the unanimous approval of various factions and the amendments are enacted. President Sirisena had noted that his objective is to create a national government with the participation of the SLFP, UNP and other parties. The President had also said that no one can oppose the concept of a national government when taking into consideration the country's internal issues that have arisen internationally. President Sirisena had gone on to say that the concept of a national government is the solution to decision-making issue in the country as well as to prevent a war in the future. President Maithripala Sirisena added that he, as the chairman of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party and the United People's Freedom Alliance, will lead the SLFP at the next general election based on a policy and political vision.
The Singaporean Prime Minister's office is lodging a police report about a fake website bearing the PMO logo and announcing the death of former Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew. The Straits Times reports that screenshots of the website started circulating tonight, leading foreign media outlets to carry reports of Lee's death. The Straits Times report says that when inquiries were made, the PMO said no new information has been issued since an update this afternoon that Lee was critically ill. That PMO update drew crowds including reporters from foreign news outlets to the Singapore General Hospital where Lee is in the intensive care unit after being hospitalized on the 5th of February for severe pneumonia.
Now, in the latest in a series of developments surrounding the controversial central bank bond issue, a protest was held opposite the central bank today, demanding swift investigations into the alleged irregularities. Meanwhile, at a media briefing held today, Dr. Harsha De Silva, Deputy Minister of Policy Planning and Economic Affairs, announced that the report of the investigative committee will be presented in Parliament.
A group of demonstrators, including UPFA MPs led by opposition leader Nimal Siripala De Silva, staged a protest opposite the central bank today. The protesters are demanding the resignation of the governor of the central bank.
We met with the Deputy Governor and called for Mahendran's immediate resignation. There is no need for further investigation. What has been revealed is enough. If he has morality, he must resign. If Ranil Wickremesinghe has any sense of political morality, he would do this. He has appointed a UNP henchman as the governor of the central bank. Yesterday in Parliament, he circled around the question.
When the trust placed in the central bank is broken, the entire banking system deteriorates. It is my view that leave alone an investigation, even Ranil Wickremesinghe must resign as Prime Minister.
All I have to say is that we will establish a SLFP government in the very near future.
This government has allowed the rogues to flee the country. Is this good governance? Impound Arjuna Mahendran's passport immediately and bring him to court. That is the opposition's demand.
We propose that a suitable Parliament Select Committee be appointed to carry out this investigation.
The SLFP also convened a media briefing today over the controversy. Look at the law of the UNP's nominations. Look at the 3 lawyers from their association who have been appointed for the investigation. I believe it is wholly unethical. Look at the Prime Minister's statement in Parliament yesterday. He was talking about different matters. He approached the matter in a roundabout fashion. He did not make a definitive statement about it.
The Prime Minister says he has gone on leave. If that is the case, then the Prime Minister too should go on leave as the subject minister. Taking leave is not sufficient. He must resign immediately. This is a very serious situation. It appears the Prime Minister levelled accusations at Sirasa out of rage. It was almost as if he was demanding they cover up the wrongdoing without exposing it. Wasn't he saying they should not expose it? This is not ethical for the media. In truth, Sirasa has covered this issue very well. We call on other media institutions too to not be suppressed. This is a temporary government with only a few days left.
At the media briefing convened today, the Deputy Minister of Policy Planning and Economic Affairs, Dr. Harsha De Silva, responded to allegations surrounding the central bank bond issue. This is the first instance at which an allegation has been levelled at an official in our government. The committee will inquire into his guilt or innocence. Parliament is entirely responsible for all state finances. This committee report will be presented to Parliament. The Prime Minister said, "Let us present it to Parliament and make a decision in Parliament." He said that if someone feels that is insufficient, then a Parliament Select Committee can be appointed. The good governance system has not been implemented before. The people should have a positive outlook on this. We cannot tie people up to trees. It can be done, but it would not be good governance. There is no provision in the law to temporarily remove a central bank governor. He has voluntarily taken leave until the investigation concludes.
The governor of the central bank, Arjuna Mahendran, has admitted to a wrongdoing. He admits to not having notified the primary dealers of the increased requirement. This is a serious failing. Mr. Mahendran must resign. We are told that the governor, Mahendran, is actually on leave. He's on paid leave. Consider this. If a local bank manager makes such a monumental mistake, he's not simply sent on leave. He will be sent home for good. 2 other senior deputies at the central bank are both abroad on a promotional tour. Does this mean that the committee will be unable to talk to them and get their views? Currently, statements are being made that a parliamentary select committee has been appointed to look into matters of the stock exchange. However, the matter in hand right now, and that is troubling the conscience of this nation, is not that. It is the Treasury bond issue.
We are saddened and we condemn Deputy Minister Dr. Harsha De Silva's attempt to justify this controversial bond issue as the first instance of malpractice under their government. Under the previous government, a committee of public officials was appointed and they ascertained that the former Foreign Secretary Shenuka Senaviratne had granted the contract to refurbish the official residence of the ambassador to a company connected to the LTTE when she was an ambassador. They have not conducted an investigation into that either, and they have appointed her as the ambassador to Thailand. At the same time, across the country, people who should be in prison have been appointed as directors and chairpersons at ministries and other institutions. We severely condemned his attempt to justify this.
Back on to local news, questions were posed in Parliament today on whether the freedom of the media has been impacted by statements made by the Prime Minister.
ගරු කතානායකතුමනි ශාන්ත බණ්ඩාර මන්ත්‍රීතුමාගේ
Honourable Speaker, MP Shantha Bandara's first question is, do you believe that there should be media freedom in a democratic country? Secondly, do you know that journalists render a major public service to the country? My response to both of these is that although those in his former government may be unaware of this, we know it well. My response is that I accept that there should be a free media in a democratic country, and I accept that journalists play a major role.
When looking at the media today and how the news is steered, we can see a change within this short time frame. Thereby, it is clear that pressure has been exerted. So even the leadership has not acted to grant the media freedom you speak of. I wish to know if you accept that.
ගරු කතානායකතුමනි පහුගිය කාලේ සුදු වෑන්
Honourable Speaker, there was a white van culture in the past. Journalists got haircuts and shaves for free, had their limbs broken and were threatened to the extent where they fled the country. Can you tell me one person who has fled the country or even their village due to the alleged threats made by the Prime Minister? I do not have responses for questions you ask when you have nothing else to say. There has been no pressure. He openly expressed his views. What pressure was exerted? Who has gone missing? Who has been abducted? Is there a police complaint?
Still in local news, Western Provincial Councillor Susil Kindalpitia has accused Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe of engaging in defamation behind the veil of parliamentary privileges. He made this statement in response to an alleged reference the Prime Minister had made about him in Parliament yesterday.
The Rajapaksa regime took steps to arrest and imprison me. I suffered imprisonment then for the United National Party, but at the time Ranil Wickremesinghe, as the party leader, did not even turn to look. When a party activist is in a difficult position, the leader abandons them. At that time I was assisted by the company I worked for, that is Sirisa. At the time the UNP leader did nothing. He did not even visit me in prison. Mr. Wickremesinghe cannot bear it when people speak the truth. Even when I have been acquitted by the court, he is personally slinging mud at me. In truth, I am saddened by this. We have a problem with regard to the Prime Minister's honesty. We have a problem as to whether the Prime Minister acted with honesty when appointing a committee to investigate this fraud. How many promises have been made to the country? Have any of them been fulfilled? That is our question. Unable to bear the truth today, the Prime Minister is using the veil of Parliament to defame people and institutions. This shows his political bankruptcy.
Minister Sajith Premadasa says that the bond issue has caused a certain level of displeasure in the country over the government.
The distribution of materials for the development of Sri Kettarama Vihare in Veerakatiya Madmulana under the Sasunata Aruna program was held under the patronage of Minister Sajith Premadasa yesterday.
We established this government to create good governance. A promise was made through this good governance to completely eradicate corruption, fraud, lies and deceit by implementing a mechanism of good governance within the state sector. The people handed the spoon of state power to us, and what happened through the central bank is causing a certain level of displeasure within the country. No one can hide it. Our government intends on committing themselves to punishing the perpetrators in a legal manner, rather than letting them just get away with the crime by resigning.
The large-scale financial fraud investigation unit interrogated MP Sajin Divas Gunawardena today for nearly 3 hours over alleged financial irregularities.
The police media unit stated that the parliamentarian was questioned over alleged financial irregularities said to have taken place in the purchase of 33 vehicles from a state-owned financial institution.
We summoned MP Sajin Divas Gunawardena today. We questioned him over alleged financial irregularities to the tune of 170 million rupees that is said to have taken place in the purchase of 33 cars. He was questioned for nearly 3 hours. He was released after a statement was recorded from him.
The contractors on the Colombo Port City project have been given permission to take steps to prevent any harm being caused to construction that has already been carried out. Arjun Ranathunga, the Minister of Ports, Shipping and Aviation, elaborated at a media briefing held today.
The company had made a request to us. They asked if they could take steps to prevent what has been built from being washed away since the monsoon season was coming. We decided through a committee yesterday to allow this. An investigation is underway via the Ports Ministry and our committee.
The minister also spoke on the Mattala Airport and the Hambantota port.
I saw through the media that Namal Rajapaksa had gotten a few political hands together and has said that the Mattala Airport and the development of Hambantota is going to be stopped and that they were going to strike. We said this in the past too. An airport has been built and there are no planes. A port was built and there are no ships. This was not done by our government. It was done by their government. His father was the head of the government. What we have done is significantly reduce expenditure on the Mattala Airport. A lot of the redundant employees have been brought to Colombo. We brought all the redundant equipment to Colombo so that it can be used. If we did not do this, it would have all just rusted away and we cannot allow that. This was built with the people's taxes.
Furthermore, the minister commented on the strike action launched by the owners and drivers of cargo container trucks.
In the past, these trucks were registered through some of the union leaders or powerful ministers and MPs. Because of good governance, we have appointed a committee which will make the decision without being unfair to anyone. But they suddenly got a few trucks, blocked the road and started this action. We have not been unjust to anyone. We will seek compensation for the loss incurred from this union.
The petition filed by the Centre for Environmental Justice against the Colombo Port City project was taken up once again at the Court of Appeal today. The petition was considered by a two-member bench comprising of the President of the Court of Appeal, Justice Vijit Malalgoda, and Justice H.C.J. Madavala.
Appearing for the Centre for Environmental Justice, Attorney at Law Ravindranath Dabare submitted to court today that the environmental impact assessment used for the project was conducted by the Moratuwa University. He pointed out that while the EIA was conducted for a 300-acre land mass, the actual land mass of the port city would be 567 acres. Dabare noted that this could cause harm to the country and the environment. The bench instructed the Attorney General to inform the government's decision to the court on the 29th of this month.
Arjuna Ranatunga, the Minister of Ports, Shipping and Aviation, was presented with the position of Attanagala Electorate Chief Organiser for the Sri Lanka Freedom Party today.
Arjuna Ranatunga was presented the appointment under the auspices of President Maithripala Sirisena at the Presidential Secretariat. Former President Chandrika Bantaranayake was also present for the occasion. Born on the 1st of December 1963, Arjuna Ranatunga is the second son of renowned politician, the late Reggie Ranatunga. Arjuna Ranatunga, who brought glory to the country as the captain of the Sri Lankan team that won the 1996 Cricket World Cup, bid farewell to the sport and made his entrance to politics from the Colombo district. Arjuna Ranatunga made his debut in Parliament under the People's Alliance ticket in 2001 and served as the Deputy Minister of Tourism Promotion and Industries under the then government. Arjuna Ranatunga left the Sri Lanka Freedom Party after the 2010 presidential election and contested under the Democratic Front to re-enter Parliament from the Kalutara district. He also supported President Maithripala Sirisena at the recently concluded presidential election.
In business news this evening, the central bank has decided to maintain its policy interest rates unchanged. The monetary board of the CBSL, which convened yesterday, had decided to continue with low rates.
The CBSL says that headline inflation on a year-on-year basis decreased significantly to 0.6% in February 2015 from 3.2% in the previous. The CBSL says that headline inflation on a year-on-year basis decreased significantly to 0.6% in February 2015 from 3.2% in the previous month. Furthermore, the central bank's monthly statement notes that credit obtained by the private sector from commercial banks increased by 11.5% year-on-year in January 2015, while in absolute terms, credit disbursements during the month amounted to 21 billion rupees. The central bank also notes that the economy grew by 7.4% last year. The economy grew by 7.3% in 2013.
Action TV is up next.
On the 10th of this month, about 1,100 officials from the Sri Lanka Principal Service who had been elevated from Grade 1 Class 2 to Grade 1 officials were called to Royal College, Colombo, where they were to be informed of their promotions. Action TV pointed out that while it is the duty of the ministry to pay the stamp charge of 30 rupees to inform each of the principals by mail, it would be reminiscent of the love of excess and unnecessary pageantry of the previous regime if the ministry created a situation where the principals had to incur unnecessary costs. Certain principals had to travel to Colombo the previous day to attend this event. This was the Education Secretary's premise for holding this event.
A message had to be given to the principals, and we felt that this was the opportune time to deliver that message. I was very happy because these promotions commenced when I was an additional secretary. I was then suddenly appointed the Education Secretary. So the minister and I both made speeches about the role of a principal and how principals should conduct themselves.
Given the fact that most of the officials here have over 10 years of experience and have been principals for most of that time, a question arises as to whether they need any special training on the role of school principals. If there was a need for such training, then it is questionable as to why another 880 individuals were not called to Colombo and were simply notified of their promotions via mail. At the same time, these promotions were not the result of any special sacrifice on the part of the ministry or the secretary. These individuals were due to be promoted as per the service constitution. If the secretary is an official who gives due position to qualified persons, then he should have considered this letter from the Deputy Minister of Education at a time that he served as an additional secretary. This letter, dated the 8th of October 2012, requests the Education Secretary, who was an additional secretary at the time, to appoint this teacher as a Grade 3 principal. He asks that it be taken into consideration that this teacher was placed first island-wide in the competitive examination held in 2006. At the same time, 18 months had passed since the Ombudsman informed the Education Secretary at the time that this teacher had been done a grave injustice and that immediate steps should be taken to rectify it. This woman, who scored 183 on the examination and was placed first island-wide, is still an assistant teacher. By failing to serve justice to this teacher, the Ministry of Education is covering up its own mistake of forgetting to send a letter to the teacher calling her up for an interview. Just as the rogue principal appointment exposed by Action TV yesterday should be annulled, shouldn't steps also be taken to serve justice to this teacher to show that good governance is being implemented in the education sector as well? Minister of Education, this is over to you.
Speaking at a media briefing convened by the Unity Through Power Devolution movement today, Asad Saleh, the leader of the National Unity Front, expressed these views.
The President gave a statement at the National Executive Council meeting. He clearly said that if the minorities have an issue with this electoral system, he would not sign any of those documents. We appreciate that very much and we are very happy about it. We also express our pleasure about the statement he made yesterday at the Central Committee meeting. He said that racism among SLFP members should be prevented and that he would not let it happen. You should remember one thing. He clearly said that this government would not have been possible if not for the votes of the Sinhalese, the Tamils and the Muslims.
A suspect had hanged himself inside a holding cell at the Jaila police. The police stated that the man had been arrested last night.
The man was arrested at 10 o'clock last night on the Jaila-Ekla road following a tip-off that he had drugs in his possession. The police say that the suspect had used a piece of the trousers he was wearing to hang himself. The deceased was a 38-year-old father of two from Vishakhapatnam, Jaila.
My son came to me last night at about 9 while I was sleeping, and he told me that he was going to the Ragam hospital to treat his foot as it was causing him pain. That was the last time I saw him. After that, the police came and asked me for some information, and I don't know why they were looking for him.
The suspect's remains are currently lying at the Jaila Divisional Hospital.
ඊයේ රාත්‍රියේ 11:30ට පමණ එම පුද්ගලයා ඇඳ සිටි කලිසමේ තිබූ.
It was reported that the individual had used thread from his trousers, tied it around the iron rod atop the cell and hung himself. Soon after officers witnessed it, they rushed him to the Jaila hospital. Inquiries are being made to see if there was any lapse of duty on the part of the police officers. A police team is conducting inquiries under the supervision of the SSP.
පොලිස් අධිකාරීගේ අධීක්ෂණය යටතේ වෙනම පොලිස් කණ්ඩායමක් පරීක්ෂණ පවත්වනවා.
Meanwhile, a body has been found in the Diyavannaoya in Madiwala. Authorities have been unable to identify the deceased. Police added that the left arm was missing. Incidentally, a left arm was discovered near the Diyavannaoya the day before yesterday. Inquiries are underway to ascertain if the body and the arm belong to the same person. The remains have been taken to the Colombo South Teaching Hospital. Police also found a pair of severed feet in a wastewater drain in Dematagoda several days ago.
The creation of an artificial beach through sand nourishment at the world-famous News1st beach commenced today. This was carried out under the guidance of the Coast Conservation Department.
Sand nourishment at this world-famous beach was initiated in a bid to reduce the damage caused to it by sea erosion. Pumping of sand to create an artificial beach commenced today after following religious observances.
The Coast Conservation Department, which took away this beach from us, has now started a project to reconstruct the News1st beach. This is the first day of that project. We are ready to welcome the sand that is being pumped from that ship onto the beach as if it was gold being given to us. Until this breakwater is completely removed, I worry whether we will be able to preserve this beach.
A program was initiated to remove the breakwater by 3 meters. Now it is in the process of being removed.
Sea erosion took place at the News1st beach for a number of years, and as the first step to prevent this, we constructed this breakwater. After the breakwater, the necessary sand nourishment is now taking place. A budget of around 830 million rupees is needed for this project. We plan on creating an artificial beach that extends up to 1 kilometer from here.
In the recent past, a number of protests were held by groups who wanted the breakwater removed, as well as groups who wanted the breakwater to be kept. However, environmentalists point out that the breakwater, which was built with a political agenda in mind, was causing much harm to the environment.
Well, with that, we wrap up Primetime News for today. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Zola Outscoon.
And I'm Sonali Vanika. Good night.